Greetings YouTube and welcome to the Blue Corner into a Cardfight Vanguard deck profile, and this is going to be on Narukami's featuring Big Bang Brawlers. It's my updated build for post set 4. In fact, the fact that this deck got nothing in set 4, I've made some adjustments nonetheless in order to deal with the current format, as well, Royal Paladins have gotten even better, Shadow Paladins have gotten better. Like, basically it's like I've changed up the deck in order to better suit the fact that we're starting to see more grade 2 stuck game type of decks. And yeah, that's really all I can say about that, so we'll just get right into this. And hopefully this will be a quick video, as I've profiled Brawlers now 3 times this year. One post set 2, one post Fighters Collection, this will be now this. And then the next time you see this deck will be post set 5 drop or Fighters Collection drop, depending on what we get in that. I'm hoping that we get another grade 3, another stride for Brawlers, but who knows. Anyway, so we'll start this deck off with the starter, Laser Soldier Saishin. Talked about this guy before in the Vermilion update, but long story short, starter sniping is very powerful, and Narukami is one of the few, is a deck that is capable of doing that with this guy. And it makes it so that your opponent can't let your grade 2 and above attacks hit, as you have the chance of taking away their Judge Vow, which will set certain decks back. Then for the 3s, not much I can say about these guys. We know how good Knuckle Buster is, and Knuckle Dragon's gotten a bit better, because now that people are more inclined to stay on their 9k grade 2 Vanguards, you can attack with this guy and actually use his Soul Blast skill for value, because he becomes 14, which means they can't, you can break through their 1 pass very easily, which is pretty nice. And yeah, that's pretty much all I can say about these guys. The cross-ride defense with Knuckle Buster is very good too. And yeah, just these guys are one half of the reason this deck is really good, as knocking out 4 things is really powerful versus slower decks such as Messiah Link, Joker, Machining Mega Colony, and decks like that, which taking away 3 to 4 rear guards a turn can be really difficult for decks to handle. And for the 2s, 4 of Knuckle Buster's Legion Mate. I'm probably going to cut this down to 3, as I don't really like calling this thing on rear guard outside of the grade 3, and I like having more options on my grade 2, especially if my opponent is playing the grade stuck game like a lot of Paladin players and such will do often in this case. But 11k attacker with a Big Bang Brawler Vanguard, and when your Big Bang Brawler Vanguard hits, you gain 3k for each hit. No, instead, the best grade 2 in the deck is now this guy, Skyhawk Dragon, as CB1 Sniper Front Row Rear Guard is really powerful, especially in the grade 2 grind, as it makes it so that your opponent can't, well, it takes away a grade 2, which is always nice. It punishes rush plays, because if you put me at 2 damage, you damn well bet you're going to lose 1 or 2 rear guards, and it just helps you play the grind game. Like, it also sets up Conquest. It's just a really solid card. Like, any Brawler player will tell you just how good this thing is right now. And also for grade 2 stuff, 3 Chakra. I've cut 1 down in order to make room for the 4th Skyhawk Dragon, which has just been really good in testing so far. Shatra is still Shatra, pressure card, 11k attacker, on hit, draw, bind. Pretty solid, very powerful with Conquest. And lastly, just the 1 copy of Sky. Big Bang / Dragon. Honestly, I'm going to put this up to 2 instead of the 4 of these, as him on rear guard's becoming better, as if your Vanguard attack hits, he becomes a 12k attacker or more for the turn. Just pretty solid. Then for the grade 1s, 4 PGGs, 4 Stride Enablers, 3 10k attackers. Now that decks are starting to play the grade 2 stuck game, 10k attackers have become very good as a result. You can either slap this behind a Shatra and hit for 18, or if they kill the Shatra, then you can just move this up and swing for 10, and it just helps you combat this kind of playstyle, or be the aggressor immediately. If they ride a 7k Vanguard, you can just ride this thing and call this thing and just swing 10, 7, what have you. And as you may notice, I'm playing 2 copies of Combing. I dropped Rising Phoenix for this guy, as A, this guy is a Brawler Vanguard, so I can actually ride it and have the name. B, Phoenix's Soul Blast requirements are harder to meet now that I'm using Big Bang Knuckle Dragon skill more frequently, and unless I resolve Saishin, it's very hard for me to get the soul needed for Phoenix's skill until I ride grade 3, and if I'm riding grade 3, I want to be using Knuckle Turbo's effect. So instead, the discard 1, draw 1 for this guy is a lot easier to pull off, but he'll be cut for the new grade 1 that when your Vanguard with Brawler hits a unit, it gets 3k. That's just better. Then for the triggers, I am running 5 draws, 4 heal, and as you can probably tell, 7 crits. So my usual ratio, I've gone back to this so that I could just get more draws, as building hand is always nice with this deck, and draws help you play the grade 2 game a bit better. I know, I keep talking about grade 2, the grade 2 game, but it's a very real thing, and people are starting to do it more. The strategy's kind of caught on. It really screws over G decks and certain decks that try and make it so you can't Legion. It's like, oh, you're playing Legion deck. Well, I'm just gonna stay on 2 and you can't push my shit. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll just grind. Then for the grade 4s, first off, my 2 unflips for Knuckle Turbo. There are just those decks where Knuckle Turbo isn't going to be that value against, i.e. Shadow Paladin and Great Nature, for example. So you'll go into these guys probably, like, you'll use Turbo once, and you'll probably go into these guys for their uses. Like, this is an on-hit retire, bind 2 from drop, which is good for Legion decks or Shadow Paladins, such for. And Module lets you get back grade 3s from your drop zone for more strides and or more Legion plays. 2 copies of Turbo, the 2 is all you ever really need. You'll either use them twice a game or one time and go into these things. It's a really good card. Like, it wasn't for the fact that Sanctuary Guard, Diablo, and the Ace exist, and Lambros exist as well, this would actually be really ridiculous. But in the face of those other busted strides, this is just really good. But yeah, in a vacuum, this thing's really strong. And then just 4 copies of the best stride in the deck, Conquest. Like, the idea with Brawlers is pretty simple. Knock out their board, and while they're trying to recover, donk them a Conquest. And you know what? More often than not, it does work. Or it just puts them in a severe, like, Conquest will either kill them, or they'll lose so much hand trying to guard this thing that the following turn, when you go for Conquest again, you win. And I don't really see the numbers of this changing, except for maybe the Finish Blow Dragon deck. You'll probably cut 2 of these things. But for Vanquisher Stride, you'll run 4 of these, 2 Voltage, and 2 other G units. Kind of wishing that Narcomi had better G unit options, as while these first 6 right here are very good, the rest of the card pool is kind of lacking. But I'll take what I can get and work with it, as most often the case. And that's pretty much it for the deck itself. As for how this deck is faring, it's actually pretty solid in the current format, as you are playing arguably the best control/destruction deck in the game. As well, this thing just completely wipes out decks that need a board in order to do stuff. So Neo Nectar, Messiah, Link, Joker, just decks that, yeah, those kind of things. And then this just allows you to push in against decks that don't have much of a board, i.e. Shadow Paladins. Like, if they're doing their usual Revenger plays, then they'll leave themselves with 1 open rearguard slot in the front. So that allows you to actually get in there and whittle away at their usually large hand size. Revengers, though, are not an easy matchup by any means. Like, it's probably your most difficult one because of the fact that they can play around your guys pretty well. Like Turbo's not as good there, but you have a great matchup against most rush decks, unless, of course, they just kill you before you're able to get your shit going. But like, if your opponent is playing like something like Aquaforce and some Royal Paladin variants, you can just blow away their board, and it really sets them back. And yeah, you can play aggro, you can play control, you can do a lot of things. Like, this is a really well-rounded deck, in my opinion, and it's not going to be losing its position any when G-Set 5 drops, as the 2 cards that this deck gets, well, rather the 3 cards, but you're only going to play 2 of them, new 1 and the new 0. Those cards just make this a bit better. And it shows, as Brawlers won the 1K tournament in Japan over Chaos Breaker Dragon of all things. Kind of funny, but it's always a deck that you have to watch out for, because if you don't know what Brawlers do, you'll die. Like, this isn't your typical slow, grindy based control deck. Like, it's aggressive, and that's something I like about Narcomi in general. But I've gone on too long, and I'll just wrap this up saying, hope you guys enjoyed the video. This will probably be the last Vanguard deck profile that I do for the foreseeable future, as Chrono Dragon Next Stage is eternally expensive, and I'm not building the new Aquaforce deck, so I'm not getting that, and I'm just waiting on G-Sets 5 and the Grand Blue Trial decks to come out before I actually do anything major. So yeah, that's all I can say for this. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time, this is Blue Star 89, checking out.